The fluorescent lights of the hospital illuminated with the steadiness of a busy institution. Dr. Noah Sadiq, a third-year internal medicine resident, inhaled deeply to soothe his tired mind. The clock on the wall read 2:17 p.m., 27 minutes later than his lunch slot, but a crucial reprieve nonetheless. He had just finished a grueling morning, signing out 2 discharged patients, arguing politely but firmly with a consulting surgeon, and spending 45 minutes counseling a family that was understandably distressed. His stomach felt like it was trying to digest itself. Noah took the lift to the 3rd floor. He was hungry, but he still had one more patient to see. His next patient was waiting in room 311, a new admission from the emergency department flagged for acute exacerbation of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Stepping into the room, he immediately noticed the quiet tension. The patient, Mr. Yull, a man in his late 60s, was sitting upright on the bed, leaning forward, using his accessory neck muscles to pull air into his struggling lungs, a classic posture known as the tripod position. "Hello, Mr. Yull. I am Dr. Sadiq, one of the doctors looking after you today," Noah said gently, moving toward the bedside monitor first, then his chart. Noah noted his respiratory rate was fast and shallow. "Hello, doctor," Mr. Yull wheezed, the effort of speech making his face flush. He was a man clearly accustomed to being robust, his hands large and calloused, but now he looked utterly defeated by the simple task of breathing. "I see you are having a tough time catching your breath. Can you tell me what made you decide to come in today? Was it worse than usual?" Mr. Yull nodded slowly, "And it feels like an elephant is sitting on my chest," he muttered. "I'm going to take a listen," Noah reassured him, pulling out his stethoscope. He placed the bell on his back, moving methodically through the lung fields. What he heard was not the quiet whoosh of healthy air moving. Instead, there were loud, musical expiratory wheezes throughout, like a tiny, distressed orchestra playing on the exhale, punctuated by coarse crackles at the bases, indicating fluid or inflammation. Noah reviewed the ED orders. He had already received his first dose of nebulized bronchodilators and a bolus of steroids. They had ordered a stat chest X-ray and labs, including a complete blood count and a procalcitonin level to assess the bacterial infection probability. Noah stepped out of the room and made a quick, decisive phone call to the respiratory therapist on the floor. "Hi, this is Dr. Sadiq. I'm calling about Mr. Yull in room 311. Can we start him immediately on bilevel positive airway pressure machine? I need continuous positive airway pressure to help offload those respiratory muscles. And please get an arterial blood gas checked about an hour after he starts on the bilevel positive airway pressure machine." Noah also quickly typed in his further orders, a broad-spectrum antibiotic regimen to cover the likely bacterial infection and a repeat dose of his inhaled medications in the nebulizer, timed to his bilevel positive airway pressure machine setup. Noah paused, reviewing his plan one last time. It was an aggressive move, but necessary. The bilevel positive airway pressure machine was often the last stop before an intensive care unit admission and mechanical ventilation, and he was trying to head that off. He took a deep breath, mirroring the patient's desperate need for air. His initial hunger now felt miles away, replaced by the sharp focus required to stabilize a life hanging in the balance. Dr. Noah Sadiq waited for the results of Mr. Yull's chest X-ray and the initial arterial blood gas with a focused anxiety that was typical of his demanding job. The X-ray popped up on the computer screen. Noah quickly reviewed the image. The result confirmed Noah's suspicion. Mr. Yull was indeed suffering from pneumonia. The X-ray confirmed the need for the antibiotics he had already ordered, solidifying his treatment. Noah gave Mr. Yull a reassuring smile. "You are doing great, Mr. Yull. The breathing machine is giving your lungs a much-needed rest. We are going to keep you on this a while longer, and the antibiotics we started will begin fighting that infection in your right lung." Noah felt a surge of satisfaction. The aggressive, but well-timed, intervention had worked. pulling a patient back from the brink of potential respiratory failure and ICU transfer. It was a victory, however small, against the relentless pressure of the hospital floor. Noah Sadiq walked into the cafeteria, the familiar exhaustion settling in after successfully stabilizing Mr. Yul. The adrenaline rush had worn off, replaced by the deep fatigue of a day spent running on caffeine and sheer determination. He headed toward the table where Dr. Musa and Dr. Dawood were already seated, joined today by Dr. Marwa, a senior surgical resident. Dawood smirked, leaning back in his chair when Noah reached them. "We were just discussing the superhuman level of commitment required to be a resident. Most people barely manage to keep a houseplant alive, let alone a complicated love life. And then there's our Saint Noah of the uncomplicated love life," Musa interjected, his eyes twinkling. "He is so dedicated to his patients, so pure in his focus and firm in his resolve to stay celibate, living like a monk until he finds his virtuous woman. Sounds like a lonely pilgrimage, bro. While the rest of us enjoy life," Musa added, taking a sip from his cup. Noah rolled his eyes as he sat and unwrapped the plastic-encased turkey and casserole he had snatched from the vending machine. He knew they were teasing, but the subject of his virtually non-existent social life was a bit of a sore spot. "Very funny. Who told you discipline equals loneliness?" They all laughed. Dawood nudged him. "Come on, man. Life is short. You don't want to miss out." Noah leaned back, the chair creaking under a quiet steadiness. "Life is short," he said. "Which is exactly why I refuse to rush it into regret." "So you want a saint?" Dawood teased. "Are we hunting for perfection now?" Noah shook his head slowly. "Not a saint. Not perfect. Virtue does not mean flawless. It means intentional. It means choosing what matters when everything else screams otherwise. Besides, I chose celibacy and abstinence out of devotion to God's command, and I have no regret." The teasing softened at that. A half-serious look flickered across Musa's face. "Don't you get tired? All this waiting?" "Maybe, sometimes. But there is a difference between fatigue and fulfillment. Self-control is not punishment. It is protection. I would rather be patient now than stitch up wounds later." Noah replied. "You think we are all just messing up?" Musa asked, quieter than before. "No," Noah looked him, steady, not judging. "Everyone chooses a path. I am choosing mine. I am not in a hurry. If waiting brings someone whose values mesh with mine, someone who respects herself and the life we would build together, that is not loneliness. That is a win." A grin returned, tempered now with admiration. "You and your principles," Dawood said, half scolding, half jealous. Noah laughed, a short, genuine sound. "Principles are easy to mock when the weather is warm. But when storms come, they are the anchor. I would rather stand anchored than drift." Dr. Marwa, always the most grounded of the group, offered a sympathetic smile. "You do not have to explain yourself, Noah. Frankly, who has the time for situationship and drama?" "Exactly," Noah said, finding solidarity in Marwa's defense. "It is funny, isn't it?" Noah continued, a small smile playing on his lips. "How many people just do not get it? The idea of waiting. It is almost countercultural now, I suppose. Everyone is so quick to jump into things." "Exactly. Why put restrictions on yourself?" Musa leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping to a more reflective tone. "Do you even remember what a spontaneous weekend trip feels like?" Musa insisted and pushed. "The issue is, Noah, you deserve someone to brag about. You take life too seriously. You need to learn to relax and have fun." "I appreciate the relationship advice," Noah said, standing up and gathering his trash. But right now, my priority is the pressure gradient in Mr. Yul's lungs. I have to make sure he is ready to wean off the bi-level positive airway pressure machine." He offered a professional smile. "Enjoy your food, guys." Noah grabbed his stethoscope, leaving the laughter and camaraderie behind. When Noah Sadiq was born, he entered the world as the child his father never wanted to claim. His arrival was unplanned. His father had always insisted he wanted only one child. And because he was the second, his father rejected the responsibility that should have been his, leaving everything to his mother. So he grew up carrying a truth he never asked for, that his existence was an inconvenience to the man who should have offered him safety and love. While other children ran freely into their father's arms, he learned early that some arms stay closed no matter how long you wait. His mother became everything, his provider, his comfort, his anchor. She worked twice as hard so he would not feel the absence too sharply. But children always sense the space where a parent should have been. Silence has a weight of its own. Yet, from that painful beginning, something remarkable formed within him. He grew up learning to stand firm, not because life was easy, but because it was not. He learned discipline from watching his mother's sacrifices, focus from surviving disappointment, and intention from understanding that nothing in life would simply be handed to him. Noah Sadiq became purposeful with his choices, careful with his time, and deliberate with his actions. The rejection that could have broken him instead shaped him into someone who lived with clarity, someone determined to build a life defined not by the father who refused him, but by the man he chose to become. He leaned firmly on his Islamic principles, his moral compass, and it became the anchor that steadied him. Those values checked him, guided him, and safeguarded the integrity he refused to compromise. For example, his commitment to celibacy and abstinence was often misunderstood. People called it strange, unrealistic, even a voluntary sentence to a lonely life. Some joked that he was setting himself up for hardship, while others insisted he was holding on to values that no longer existed in the world. There were moments when he was told outright that finding someone who shared the same standards would be nearly impossible, that sexual abstinence had become outdated, abandoned, or naive. But he held on anyway. Not out of pride or stubbornness, but because his principles were not shaped by trends or opinions. They were shaped by faith, intention, and the quiet conviction that living with discipline is never a loss, even when the world cannot understand it. Sahara Ral, at 25, carried the weight of her bustling fusion restaurant, with easy confidence. Her days started before the first bakeries opened, slicing vegetables and proofing dough, and ended long after the last tables were wiped clean. She poured every ounce of her energy and passion into the place, driven not just by a desire for success, but by the deep-seated belief that good food, shared intentionally, was a form of united harmony. It was this rigorous schedule and her unwavering commitment to her faith, a commitment that guided her choices both professional and personal, that made her world small, focused, and predictable. But fate, or perhaps destiny, has a way of introducing the unexpected. And one Tuesday evening, as Sahara was meticulously arranging a display of fresh herbs, her path unexpectedly crossed with that of Dr. Noah Sadiq, who had just walked in looking for a quiet dinner and a respite from his own demanding world. The moment Dr. Noah Sadiq stepped inside the restaurant, the low, warm lighting and the scent of rich herbs offered the exact quiet respite he needed. He was a man perpetually in motion, his mind usually a whirlwind of clinical trials. Tonight, however, he simply wanted to be still. A few minutes later, Sahara moved to wipe down the counter near Noah's secluded corner table. "I hope everything is to your liking, sir," Sahara said, her voice low and professional, but holding an underlying earnestness. She noticed the way he held his spine, straight, almost rigidly disciplined, and the exhaustion faintly etched beneath his eyes. Noah looked up from the meal he had ordered. "It's wonderful, thank you," he paused, studying Sahara's face. "You look like you have been on your feet for 12 hours. Sahara offered a tired, genuine smile. "Yes, but who is counting? It is a labor of love. Every late night is worth it if we can make someone's evening better. She did not rush away. She often found these brief exchanges with customers to be the most human parts of her long day. Noah returned her smile with a reserved, intellectual one. I recognize that kind of commitment. Success is not built on half measures. I agree, Sahara said, leaning slightly against the counter. I am Sahara, the owner. And I guess we share that philosophy. It takes a certain kind of drive, doesn't it? Something deeper than just ambition. Noah, who rarely discussed anything personal with strangers, felt a strange pull to share. It is about helping people. The possibility of finding something that truly changes lives. I am a medical doctor, he said. Sahara's professional composure softened with genuine empathy. That's incredible work, doctor, she paused, to allow him mention his name. Noah. Noah Sadiq. May God bless your hands in that fight, Sahara said simply, without any fanfare, yet with immense sincerity. Noah blinked, taken aback by the faith-based blessing. It felt oddly comforting. He realized this was the quiet woman his waitress had mentioned was devoted to her faith and her restaurant equally. Thank you, Sahara. That means a lot. Now, tell me, what keeps you going for 12 hours straight? Sahara's expression brightened. It is what I believe I am meant to do. Serve, provide, and connect people over something essential. Noah watched her, recognizing the unwavering resolve in her eyes, a resolve that mirrored his own dedication to saving lives. It was a fascinating, beautiful difference. He felt an unexpected curiosity stir within him, wanting to know more about this woman called Sahara. Noah returned to the restaurant 2 nights later, not for the meal, but for the conversation. He had spent the last 48 hours with Sahara's thoughts running through his mind. This time, he made sure to sit at the counter where Sahara worked. Sahara, he greeted her, accepting a glass of water. I hope I'm not disrupting your work. She grinned, genuinely pleased to see Noah. So, tell me, Dr. Sadiq, what is it like to stand on the edge of a breakthrough? To know that what you are doing could fundamentally change the human condition? Noah leaned in, speaking with measured intensity. It is exhilarating, terrifying, and deeply humbling. There's no room for distraction, no compromise on integrity. That sounds familiar, Sahara murmured, polishing a small vase until it gleamed. I find faith is like that. It demands integrity and focus. And it is about deferring immediate gratification for something eternal. He smiled, like someone remembering a long road. I grew up learning that discipline keeps you from losing yourself. Faith gave me direction. Values kept me steady. Even when people mocked my choices. Sahara leaned back slightly, interest blooming across her face. Mocked you? For what? Mocked me because of how intentionally I chose to live. He replied. Somewhere outside, a car horn sounded faintly, a reminder that the world was still moving. But inside the restaurant, time felt suspended, as though the quiet air itself was gently blessing the beginning of something sincere. They kept talking, the conversation unfolding slowly, like pages turning in a book neither of them wanted to close. What began as small reflections about faith and choices deepened into conversations about hopes they rarely voiced, and the principles that guided them through the quiet corners of life. With each shared thought, something shifted, not loudly, but with the kind of softness that felt honest. By the time their glass cup sat empty between them, they realized something quietly remarkable. Their values aligned. Their convictions echoed one another. Their intentions, slow, steady, and purposeful, matched in ways neither had expected. It was not dramatic or rushed. It was simply two souls recognizing a familiar rhythm in each other, discovering that what they believed in separately might just make sense together. In the months since Noah met Sahara, the rhythm of his days shifted, almost imperceptibly at first, then undeniably. Noah often replayed the moment they met, because it never felt accidental, though fate rarely left fingerprints bold enough to trace. Tonight, as Noah drove home under a sky washed clean by spring rain, he realized something unmistakable. Meeting her may have been fate, but everything that had blossomed since had been choice, hers and his. A decision, day by day, to learn, to trust, to grow. And as he replayed the month behind them, he felt certain that this was only the beginning. In Sahara's corner. The air in Sahara's childhood bedroom was thick with the scent of sandalwood incense and the lingering fragrance of her mother's favorite saffron soap. Outside, the night was quiet, broken only by the faint adhan echoing softly from a distant mosque, signaling the late hour.
Is purity a gift we save for a future spouse, or an act of devotion to God's command? And if no spouse ever arrives, does celibacy still have meaning, or was its value always rooted in obedience to God? Stories like this are closer to reality than we think. What do you think happens next? The rest would unfold in the next part. Please stay tuned. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.